Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. You can't talk about wizarding schools without starting with the most famous one, Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Hidden away in the Scottish Highlands, Hogwarts looks like a giant, enchanted castle with towers, dungeons, and even its own spooky forest. To Muggles, though, it's just a pile of ruins that looks so unsafe you'd be reported to the council for standing too close. But for wizarding kids across Britain and Ireland, it's basically the dream school. The school was founded way back in the 10th century by 4 legendary witches and wizards: Godric Gryffindor, Salazar Slytherin, Helga Hufflepuff, and Rowena Ravenclaw. Each of them wanted students with different qualities, which is why we got the 4 houses. Of course, Slytherin ended up rage-quitting the group project over whether Muggleborns should be allowed, and left behind a small problem called the Chamber of Secrets. So how do kids get in? At age 11, they receive the famous Hogwarts letter. If you're magical, an owl delivers it. If you're Muggle-born, a Hogwarts staff member shows up in person to convince your parents that this isn't some elaborate prank. The letter also comes with a supply list: robes, wands, cauldrons, basically everything you need for 7 years of magical chaos. The year begins on September 1st when students board the Hogwarts Express at King's Cross Station. First years arrive dramatically by boat across the Black Lake, while everyone else takes carriages pulled by creatures only visible if you've seen death. No pressure. Once inside, the Sorting Hat puts you in your house, and that becomes your family for the rest of the year, competing for points, battling it out in Quidditch, and desperately trying to win the House Cup. Classes cover everything from charms and potions to electives like care of magical creatures, ancient runes, and divination. In 5th year, you face OWLS, and in 7th, it's the dreaded NEWTS, which basically decide what kind of job you can get in the wizarding world. And the castle itself? It's basically alive. The staircases move whenever they feel like it, rooms vanish and reappear, ghosts casually drift through walls, and Peeves the Poltergeist makes it his personal mission to ruin your day. All of that on top of the Great Hall feasts, Quidditch matches, and the occasional life-threatening danger. So yeah, Hogwarts isn't just the most famous wizarding school. It's the blueprint for magical education everywhere, and also the school most likely to get sued by concerned parents if Muggles could see what went on inside. Beauxbatons Academy of Magic. Beauxbatons Academy of Magic is believed to be hidden somewhere in the Pyrenees Mountains, between France and Spain. The school sits inside a massive chateau surrounded by perfect gardens and wide green lawns, all shaped with powerful magic. Everyone who visits says the place is breathtaking, kind of like stepping into a magical palace. Most of the students come from France, but Beauxbatons also welcomes kids from Spain, Portugal, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Belgium. It's known for having a lot of students, plus a reputation for discipline and refinement. Basically, this is the school where good manners and style are just as important as spell work. The academy is closely tied to the famous alchemists Nicolas and Perenelle Flamel. They actually met as students here, and today a magical fountain named after them stands on the grounds. It's said to have healing powers, and maybe even a few beautifying ones too. Beauxbatons has also had its share of standout alumni. Vincent Duc de Trèfle-Piquet survived the French Revolution by disguising his own execution scar. Luc Millefeuille became known both as a brilliant pastry chef and as a dark wizard who poisoned Muggles. And in more recent times, Fleur Delacour represented Beauxbatons in the 1994 Triwizard Tournament, later fought at the Battle of Hogwarts, and received medals of bravery from both the French and British Ministries of Magic. The current headmistress is Madame Olympe Maxime. She's famously tall, half giantess, though she denies it, and she carries herself with elegance, brilliance, and authority. Her leadership perfectly reflects the school's values of grace and power. So in short, Beauxbatons isn't just a school of magic, it's a place where beauty, discipline, and history are woven into every corner of the castle grounds. Durmstrang Institute. Durmstrang Institute is one of the 3 great wizarding schools of Europe, alongside Hogwarts and Beauxbatons. It's tucked away in the far north of the continent, hidden so well by magic that its exact location has never been nailed down. Students from all over Europe have attended, though it's most famously associated with Bulgaria because of its star pupil, Victor Krum. The school was founded in the Middle Ages by the Bulgarian witch Nerida Volkanova. And from the very start, Durmstrang built a reputation for toughness. Unlike Hogwarts, which balances books with broomsticks, Durmstrang leaned heavily into martial magic, combat spells, dueling, and, notoriously, the dark arts. It was the only known school where the dark arts weren't just studied defensively, but actually taught as part of the curriculum. This made Durmstrang feared and sometimes misunderstood, but it also produced some of the most skilled fighters in wizarding history. The castle itself was smaller than Hogwarts, just 4 stories high, but it sat on massive grounds surrounded by lakes and mountains. Viktor Krum once described summers there as perfect for flying every day, though in the long northern winters there was barely any daylight. Fires were only lit for magical purposes, which probably explains why Durmstrang students always looked like they dressed straight out of a Siberian survival guide. Fur cloaks, fur hats, and blood-red robes. Durmstrang's most infamous former student was Gellert Grindelwald. Brilliant but dangerously obsessed with dark magic, even Durmstrang had to expel him for his experiments. His carved Deathly Hallows symbol remained on the school walls long after his time, a reminder that some students are too much even for a place known for toughness. In the 1990s, the school was run by Igor Karkaroff, a former Death Eater who had saved himself from prison by betraying others. His time as headmaster was defined by fear and intimidation, and many parents pulled their children out. Still, under his leadership, Durmstrang sent a delegation to the 1994 Triwizard Tournament, arriving at Hogwarts aboard a ghostly, skeletal-looking ship that rose straight out of the Black Lake. It was here that Viktor Krum became a champion, and also where he famously took Hermione Granger, the Muggle-born Hogwarts student, to the Yule Ball, a bold move for someone from a school that officially banned Muggle-borns. Durmstrang may not have the warmth of Hogwarts or the elegance of Beauxbatons, but it was unmatched in discipline and raw magical skill. For better or worse, it was the school that embraced the darker edge of wizardry, and it left a mark on history because of it. Mahudokoro. Mahudokoro is Japan's ancient school of magic, renowned for both its prestige and its unique traditions. Despite being one of the 11 great wizarding schools, it has the smallest student body. Children begin attending classes as young as 7 years old, though they only start boarding at the school once they turn 11. Until then, day students are transported back and forth on the backs of giant storm petrels, an awe-inspiring sight for anyone lucky enough to witness it. The school itself is located on Minami Iwo Jima, a volcanic island thought by Muggles to be uninhabited. At its summit stands Mahudokoro's Palace, a breathtaking structure carved from mutton-fat jade gleaming above the sea. One of the most distinctive features of Mahudokoro is its enchanted robes. Upon admission, each student receives a set of robes that grow along with them and shift color based on their magical progress. The robes begin a faint pink for beginners, turning gold for those who achieve excellence across all magical subjects. However, if the robes turn white, it signals that the student has engaged in dark magic or broken the International Statute of Secrecy. Such a disgrace leads to immediate expulsion and a trial before the Japanese Ministry for Magic. Mahudokoro is also legendary in the world of Quidditch. According to wizarding lore, the sport was introduced to Japan centuries ago by a group of Hogwarts students attempting to fly around the world on broomsticks. Blown wildly off course, they were rescued by Mahudokoro staff who were observing the stars. During their stay, they taught the basics of Quidditch, a decision they came to regret, as Japanese players quickly mastered and surpassed them. Training at Mahudokoro is famously intense. Students practice over stormy seas where they must contend not only with the weather and bludgers, but also keep a sharp lookout for Muggle planes from a nearby airbase. This demanding environment has produced some of the world's greatest Quidditch players. Every member of Japan's national team and the Toyohashi Tengu, reigning Champions League winners, credit their success to the rigorous training they received at Mahudokoro. Ilvermorny School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Ilvermorny is the great wizarding school of North America. It sits on the peak of Mount Greylock in Massachusetts, hidden from Muggle, or No-Maj, as Americans call them, eyes by enchantments that sometimes appear as a swirling ring of mist around the summit. Founded in the 1600s, Ilvermorny grew from a small stone house into a full castle, eventually becoming the American equivalent of Hogwarts. The founder was Iseult Sayre, an Irish witch who fled to America after a troubled childhood. She was raised by her cruel aunt Gormleth Gaunt, who not only murdered Iseult's parents but also prevented her from attending Hogwarts. After escaping by stealing her aunt's wand, Iseult disguised herself as a boy and boarded the Mayflower to the New World. Life in Puritan America was not easy for a witch, so she disappeared into the wilderness and eventually built a new life there. In America, Iseult befriended magical creatures, including a grumpy Pukwudgie she nicknamed William, who reluctantly stuck by her side. She also rescued 2 orphaned wizarding boys, Chadwick and Webster Boot, and later married James Stewart, a No-Maj who helped her construct a home on Mount Greylock. Together, they began teaching magic to their adopted sons and a handful of local magical children. That little homeschool eventually became Ilvermorny. Like Hogwarts, Ilvermorny has 4 houses, each named after a magical creature rather than a founder. Chadwick chose the Thunderbird, a bird said to summon storms as it flies. Webster picked the Wampus, a panther-like beast known for its strength and ferocity. Isolde chose the Horned Serpent, a mystical river creature with a jewel in its forehead that she felt a strange kinship with. And James, perhaps feeling left out as the only no-mage in the family, picked the Pukwudgie, probably because William's constant complaining was somehow endearing. Students are sorted in a very different way than at Hogwarts. Instead of a hat that talks, Ilvermorny has 4 large carvings in the entrance hall. The Thunderbird beats its wings, the Wampus roars, the Horned Serpent's jewel lights up, and the Pukwudgie raises its arrow when they want a student. Sometimes more than one carving responds, and in rare cases all 4 do, though that happens maybe once in a generation. Another big difference is the wand ceremony. Until the 1960s, American wizarding law required that children only receive a wand once they arrived at Ilvermorny. Students would choose or be chosen by a wand at school, and then had to leave it behind during summer breaks until they turned 17. Ilvermorny students wear robes of blue and cranberry fastened with a gold Gordian knot. The colors reflect the founders: blue for Isolde's love of Ravenclaw, and cranberry for James's love of cranberry pie. And yes, that detail means every American wizarding student walks around dressed in the colors of dessert. Today, Ilvermorny is one of the most respected wizarding schools in the world. It is also considered one of the most open and egalitarian, partly because of James Stewart's no-mage background. Pukwudgies still work at the school, constantly grumbling about how much they hate it there, while showing up to work year after year anyway. Castelo Bruxo. Castelo Bruxo is the wizarding school of Brazil, serving students from across South America. The school is concealed deep within the Amazon rainforest, where its massive square-shaped castle of golden stone rises like an ancient temple. To Muggle eyes, however, the castle appears only as a crumbling ruin, a powerful protective illusion similar to the enchantments placed on Hogwarts. It remains unclear whether Hogwarts or Castelo Bruxo first devised this trick, a matter still debated among magical historians. The grounds and castle of Castelo Bruxo are guarded by Caipora, small, furry spirit beings from Brazilian folklore. These guardians are mischievous by nature and notoriously difficult to outwit, appearing mostly at night to keep watch over both the students and the many magical creatures of the surrounding rainforest. Their antics are infamous. Former headmistress Benedita Dorado once laughed at Hogwarts headmaster Armando Dippet for complaining about Peeves the Poltergeist, offering instead to send him a few Caipora to demonstrate what real trouble looked like. Her offer was politely declined. Students of Castelo Bruxo wear robes of bright green, symbolizing the lush environment that surrounds their school. The academy has a strong reputation for teaching in herbology, the study of magical plants, and magizoology, the study of magical creatures. Because of this specialization, Castelo Bruxo runs popular exchange programs that attract European students eager to learn about South America's magical flora and fauna. One such exchange opportunity was once offered to Bill Weasley, though his parents could not afford the trip. His pen friend at Castelo Bruxo, disappointed, responded by sending him something unpleasant in the post. The school has produced several notable alumni. Among them is Libadius Barrage, a world-famous potioneer who authored key works such as Advanced Potion Making, Asiatic Anti-Venoms, and Have Yourself a Fiesta in a Bottle. Another graduate is João Coelho, captain of the Tarapoto Tree Skimmers, one of the most celebrated Quidditch teams in the world. Ouagadougou. Ouagadougou is the largest wizarding school in the world and the pride of African magical education, with a history stretching back at least 1,000 years. Located in the fabled Mountains of the Moon, the school is described as a breathtaking structure carved directly into the mountainside, often surrounded by mist so thick that it seems to float in mid-air. Many magical scholars point to Africa as the birthplace of much of the world's earliest magic, and Ouagadougou reflects this legacy. Its curriculum is especially strong in astronomy, alchemy, and self-transfiguration. In fact, Ouagadougou has earned a reputation for producing animagi of exceptional skill. At one international symposium, Ouagadou's student team caused an uproar by performing synchronized transformations, 14-year-olds casually shifting into elephants and cheetahs in unison. The display reportedly unnerved many older wizards, including Adrian Tutley, whose animagus form is, unfortunately, just a gerbil. He even lodged a formal complaint with the International Confederation of Wizards. One of the school's most famous alumni is Babajide Akingbade, who succeeded Albus Dumbledore as Supreme Mugwump of the International Confederation of Wizards. Another unique aspect of Ouagadou is its approach to spellcasting. Unlike the heavy reliance on wands in Europe, African witches and wizards traditionally cast spells through finger-pointing and hand gestures. Wands have been adopted in recent centuries, but the old methods remain common and come in handy when explaining magical accidents. A Ouagadou student can simply say, "I was only waving, I didn't mean to make his chin fall off." Finally, Ouagadou's method of admitting new students is unlike any other. Instead of letters by owl, children are contacted by dream messengers. These visions, sent by the headmaster or headmistress, appear to children as they sleep and leave behind a token, usually a carved stone, that the child finds in their hand upon waking. And that's every great wizarding school around the world, from misty castles to jade palaces and rainforest temples. Wherever you go, one thing's for sure: magical homework is just as terrifying everywhere.